So y'all aren't live on YouTube right now unless somebody has hacked my YouTube account. So I think a lot of times people, they overthink RPGs.
Can you us to sheet so your back's not too?
Sure. So people tend to overthink RPGs and think that it's overwhelming because maybe you've played in campaigns around a table for weeks, months, years, decades in some cases, and you're like, there's just way, way, way too much for me to think about actually designing this as game masters are always in there. Your other players are in there. So to take yourself beyond that and go to that 10,000 foot view from the outside of the adventure to coming in sometimes can feel overwhelming. And it's just because you don't know where to start. So whether you believe it's biblically or biologically, our brains are made to process things in the power of 3. So the entire thing that we're going to be doing today, the full RPG creation, we are going to be creating in the power of 3. We're just going to take 3 things and then break each of those things down by 3 things and break each of those things down by 3 things. In the book that we're putting out, and a couple of you joined us a little bit afterward, just so you know, we shared, this has been taught for years. We're finally putting it in print. We're actually going to be using the different RPGs we create today as samples within that book, and everybody here gets that for free, at least as a PDF. And if you want it in print, you get it at cost, because I'm not paying to give it to you, but I will give it to you at cost. So what we're going to do in the book is you actually will have additional ways that you can even break it down further. So if you want to go from building that adventure to building out that campaign book, to building out that world book, to building out that module, you certainly can. You can use this system and just keep cracking that egg open. I used to say that I would go like this, did you guys ever do this? And you guys do that. I find that more and more when I say that in front of a room, I am totally dating myself. And they're like, what is that? This generation, they're going to think like cracking an egg on your head. Why would you do that? That's gold. So we're going to start. We're going to break down by 3 by 3 by 3. Come on in, pull up a chair. This is fantastic. Yep, there's a couple chairs in there. Pull one in. So we're going to, as we work today, couple of rules of the game. One, how many people, anybody here ever do improv? Yep. Okay. So when I say this is a yes and workshop, what does that mean?
This means that we are it's collaborative, I'm assuming first and foremost, and we build on each other.
We do. And if something comes across and you're like, no, but that won't work. No and but are gone. Instead, it's yes and. So if I hear somebody say, well, what if they even touch this mushroom, they die? And you're like, that is stupid. In your head, you're going, that does not work in an RPG. Instead of saying, that's really stupid, say, yes, and what if they actually have to touch it when the moon is shining and they have to touch it in this place, and if their health is down to this? Okay, now we have something that we can work with. You're not just gonna TPK your party, before they even get going. So that's what I mean by yes and. If something isn't quite setting with you, I apologize. I'm talking a lot already this weekend. But if something isn't quite setting with you, let's build on it instead of blocking it. And it may be by the time you build on it, like some of that initial stuff that didn't work, it's going to work itself out. Since we are going to do 2 today, I'm okay with you. If you think it's easier to kind of break up this side of the table and this side of the table, that's fine. If it makes more sense for speaking, for like maybe the 4 of you, 5 of you down here and the 4 of you here, that works too. So, but let's make that decision.
Oh.
So
I don't care.
Yeah, we could roll to death.
Okay. Very well.
I'm sorry. Did we make a decision?
I say let's go table by
Side
table,
side.
vertical, side and side.
Okay, so here's one RPG and here's another RPG.
Easy.
Yeah. So our first one, I told you we're breaking this up into 3, but we're going to start with a 1 and this one is gonna have its 2-3 at the very end. So the very first thing that you need at that 10,000 foot view is going to be your basic concept of a world. So what I mean by that, I'll start throwing some examples out here, and then I want you as a group to feel free to grab one of those examples or come up with your own. Frozen tundra overrun by automatons. Lunar colony in the future. Space vortex that has wormholes across the galaxy. Underwater haven where humanity has had to move. Saharan desert. Steampunk colony in the mountains. Frozen tundra. So those are some really, really broad concepts, and to them you can add terms like sci-fi, fantasy, steampunk, human, action adventure. Pick kind of like a genre and a world. So, working together with your group, go ahead and come up with your basic concept world.
Do we want to move forward? Would it be
We're
easier?
saying,
Frozen tundra.
Oh, you guys are cool with that? Yeah.
Third
And
piece over that way?
I'll make sure that I go in between. Good idea.
So, I don't know why I thought of this. My first
Guys,
thought
here,
was
just leave it
a
right
coffee shop in an underwater research vessel. It's just bizarre. But I like frozen tundra. So do you want to do like a thing like Arctic Research Station?
yeah.
Yeah. So just in general, set it like some Arctic Research Station. I don't know what we do with that.
We gotta pick a genre.
Well, just think if there's thermal tunnels that like produce light that is bizarre,
That's what I
A delve.
Yeah, kind of Galway dungeon crawl kind of.
Okay.
So and your genre could be alien, it could be sci-fi, it could be fantastical, it could be almost supernatural, like
Okay.
is this research, is it more like you could be in like a superhero kind of universe where, so you could go with a lot of different genres.
Still fantastical, maybe. I was just thinking about the articles I've been reading lately about National Geographic, about how they keep finding all these creatures that we didn't know about, or their behaviors. Like the octopus is like a really sentient being that we didn't know about. Maybe we could throw that in there somehow. Maybe they're smarter than us, and we just underestimated. They've just been staying away from us. Maybe that's where all the UFOs come from, or something like that. That they talk about, that they say they might be out there, or something like that.
Okay, I love that you're already, and this is gonna happen all throughout, and I'll tell you guys as well, all throughout, you're going to start thinking ahead, and that's awesome. And we're going to be breaking down each of those things, like who those characters are, what those things are that are in that place. So, but let's hear kind of where we're starting. So where did you guys land? What is your world and kind of your genre? No, you're
I
fine.
think we're still working that out.
Yeah, I think
Still working on it.
Yeah.
So my
Okay.
question for you then, don't think, just answer
So
your
where are you
favorite
guys
decade,
landing? What do you
80s,
think?
2078, or
Prison.
19 or
Woo!
1880s.
A horror swamp prison over here. Okay.
You guys would do that, like
I love this.
a research
I
thing in the
can tell you, I've been
1880s
doing
in
this
some
for
frozen tundra
years.
something,
And I've never
where
done that.
people are spelunking,
So like that's
looking
gonna be
for
a lot of fun to play with.
mystical creatures or whatever is in this frozen space.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And
that sounds
maybe
good.
All right, so what do we got? We got a swamp prison over here, and what do we got here?
It's a Arctic Research Station in the 1880s.
Ooh, so we got like a late 1800s Arctic research station and a swamp prison. You guys are awesome. So
it's a place.
from here out is where we're going to start doing our breaking up into threes, and you'll get the 2 and 3 of our big concept when we get to the end of this one as well. So the big thing that you have that makes up your world is going to be broken up into its people. Let me make sure. I gotta keep always going to my things here. Excuse me. It's going to be broken up into its people, its settings, and its physics. Excuse me. Its settings, its physics, and its terrain. Its setting, its physics, and its terrain.
What's the physics exactly?
We're gonna talk about those as we break each of those up.
Okay.
Y'all, it has been a long day and I realize I skipped ahead already. And so here it is like I was already on the road for a couple hours this morning. So we're gonna back up my own words. Our worlds are made up of our flora, our fauna, and our terrain. Our flora, our fauna, and our terrain. And that is what is in our setting. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm getting there. Gotta get that morning after con wake up going here, right? Our flora, our fauna, and our terrain. So what we're gonna do is I want you guys thinking about your world. And if your world is a man-made world, your flora, your fauna, and your terrain, you're gonna have to get a little bit more creative with. There could actually be some external flora, fauna, terrain that are maybe surrounding your world, or you could come up with things that are more man-made replacements or equivalents of some of those things. So we're gonna start on flora, and because we're thinking in the power of 3, now if you're building out a big adventure campaign book, you're gonna have more than 3 types of plants. You're gonna have more than 3 types of animals. You may have many, many types of terrain. But in general, your setting is going to be your flora, your fauna, and terrain. So we're gonna just be looking at 3 of them. So first we're gonna start at that flora, and we're going to think of 3. Try to think of 3 flora or flora equivalent in our man-made world that are going to exist logically in that world that you have created. So we're gonna take about 3 minutes here to come up with, as a team, 3 flora that are a part of your setting.
Everybody have thoughts?
I was
Yeah,
already thinking.
okay, how about some?
If we're in a research station
Maybe not.
and it's frozen, so
Um,
all of it is inside, so we have to have like a garden.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking he had mentioned like
Okay, or maybe
or I
slice
think
an
like
edge.
one of those, I don't know what those plants are called, but
Or-
reach out and grab stuff.
There we
I mean,
go.
it's like-
Yeah, kind of like that, but with tentacles.
Maybe.
In the
Do have
frozen.
underwater stuff that does that. I can't think of what it's called.
Or a bulbous.
Looks like,
But I mean, we're in the frozen wherever, like I figure it's just ice plants.
well, we're also gonna be going in tunnels, so
Yeah.
we could technically say
We
that,
could-
but some of these tunnels going right into the water underneath
But
the
it's
ice, and that's kind of how we discover the weirdness, maybe, I don't know.
Can you
That's
might
what
be
we are.
closer to
Yes.
mushrooms? Oh, yeah, for sure, mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely mushrooms.
That's,
Yeah,
okay.
like, but maybe
It'll have to
that's
be a
what
cool
all of
mushroom.
it has.
For sure. It can be a whole variety. But I
Sounds
have
something
tentacle
crazy.
plants and mushrooms.
I do too, yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
that's
we need a
fun.
third, huh?
Hold on, so we got what, nut mushrooms and,
Tentacle plants
okay.
or octopi plants. Octopodlians. There we go. That's the name of them. They're
I think
octopods.
that looks gross, but actually is really good for you.
It's actually a mushroom. I'm leaving mushroom.
Okay, so our healing mushroom, but it's like.
So we can
looks-
do more. What do we got?
I have.
Moss, yeah, because we mentioned hot springs somewhere, so moss, why not?
Growing moss?
Bioluminescent
Yeah.
moss.
Yeah.
With necessarily dark. It's where
Not just
people
any
are
moss,
just
but
strong.
bioluminescent.
Or is that like the whole environment is the prison?
Yeah.
So like.
This is what we don't
That's
have
been,
about
that
torches.
that mists acid or something.
Why not?
So since we have time, what about the mushrooms? You know, you said they have to be really cool mushrooms.
Well, because technically, I mean, normally they grow
The
up
whole,
in human
like all of
Yeah.
the
areas,
plants.
right?
They
They
grow
don't have to, they don't have
they
to grow
grow
in the dead things, yeah,
Yeah.
like trees or something like that.
Nice.
So,
Well, there are like heat resistant bacteria. So there could
they could be by the,
ice resistant mushrooms that grow.
they could be by the moss too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Well, I was thinking they could be the source of it because you need spores.
because it'll
So
bring
it could be a full
grass
ecosystem where like
in.
they get interacted, they spore out, and they cause player characters to hallucinate or something. But then that seeds like bioluminescent moss bases.
I think it's the red spotted cat mushroom,
Well, the
which
lily pads-
is,
the lily pads is-
uh,
They're almost
it's
like
not
your
toxic,
Venus
but it's
flytraps, but they're looking-
hallucinogenic. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I listened to that.
So how about if the mushrooms
Okay.
somehow interact
Okay,
with
lily
that moss that sprays instead of acid, it sprays out some concoction that makes you high.
Yeah.
Or hallucinate, in other words, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So they just kind of
Because then
cross-spread
you can
because they
say
needed to
wherever the
spread.
moss is, you know, there used to be mushrooms.
Yeah,
Because
well, I
like
mean, this
they're
is like
formed by
a
the spores coming out.
Okay.
So it's a way to like track it as you're going down through these tunnels.
I like that.
In
the swamp, it's junk.
Yeah, and these things that some of them.
National Geographic.
Oh, you
Remember,
don't
that's
know
popped
which
in my
one.
head.
Yes,
There are
exactly, or
places
it's
in the
hard to
ocean.
find.
Okay, I'm gonna give you guys 30
There's
seconds or so to
Oh,
wrap
yeah.
up. Free flora in 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, they congregate in those areas sometimes because of the heat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so fruit, yeah, because I think a lot of it when it's.
I think it was actually, might have been octopuses that
You're
do
right.
they do it in colonies.
Okay,
Oh, really?
so-
Yeah, in colonies underneath the water because of the heat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, them were,
What do you-
it was,
Track fruit.
another creature could have been like the whales, I don't remember which one, but
That's why you did
it's such a long time ago. But it was a good
Okay,
article.
so let's hear, so in our 1880s Arctic Research Station, what are our 3 flora?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. It says, so there's the station and below it there are thermal vents that create tunnels in the ice.
Okay,
And under the ice, we found some mushrooms.
okay.
And can you guys kind of explain how they're connected to this bioluminescent moss, how those two interact?
Oh, we have symbiosis already. I
so
love that. Let's
We have
go.
mushrooms that when they get interacted with spurt out spores that cause players to hallucinate, but also seed the area for bioluminescent moss.
Ooh,
So
which
that's-
could almost kind of light the way. And what do we know about the bioluminescent moss other than it's glow? Is it kind of neutral, or is there something related to the moss as well?
Well, the mushrooms are related, so we know
Yes.
if the moss is there, there's more mushrooms at least once upon a time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're an indicator that these mushrooms, which could cause you to hallucinate, are
nearby.
present.
Yeah.
I like that. I love that symbiosis. So what's our third one? Or do you have 2 more?
We have tentacle plants.
Oh, yeah. Octopodlians. They're-
Octopodlians?
Yeah, they're tentacle plants that do grab and consume.
Yes. Oh, I love a good carnivorous plant. That's awesome. Awesome. And is that your 3? Because you have the moss and the mushroom. I love that. And I love that you already are thinking about how things interplay with one another, because that's going to become really important in the adventure. What about our swamp prison? What are our 3?
Well, I'm glad that you like carnivorous plants.
Yes.
We are starting out with a think like a Venus flytrap, but rather a Venus mantrap. However, it's positioned as a lily pad. So if you are trying to get from swamp to swamp, potentially, you get bagged and
It looks like an innocuous lily pad. Okay, all right. And what is the name of this?
right now, Venus mantrap / lily pad.
I love that. You can play with that, but yeah, you gotta start there. The concept is really important. What else do we have flora-wise?
Drowning snake vines.
Mhm.
So if you're not on the lily pads and you're in the water, the roots, it's like roots trying to grab you and pull you under.
Okay. Wow, you guys have a swamp world where it's hard to cross the swamp. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay, what's our third one?
It is like a decoy trap fruit, but as you get closer, it actually is just tightly wound poisonous spikes that'll shoot up.
Okay, so like a poisoned spike fruit. But it looks like a decoy, like it looks like, ooh, I wanna go pick that. Gotcha,
Yeah.
I gotcha. So you're gonna have some fun naming protocols, because all of these could come up with you could get a lot of great names. Now that I've got my voice aligned a little bit, I feel much better for moving forward here, guys. One of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull my good old teacher self out. I have taught in middle school, I've taught in college, so I'm always doing the recap. So our recap, at the top level, we have our basic concept world. Our world is broken up, and I'm gonna get this right for you this time. Our world is actually broken up into our setting, our people, and our physics. We are currently breaking down the first one of those, which is the setting. And the setting are 3 on that. is the flora, the fauna, and the terrain. So I apologize for being confusing. I confused myself. It was all, but we're all back there now. And we're already, as symbiosis is coming, we're starting to get those crack and egg moments. As a novelist, that's what I call any time that you have something that you have an idea, but then that idea changes everything else. It's like the way an egg spreads, in the pan. You're cracking an egg into your story. So the fact that this is happening at our very first breakdown is amazing. So now you're going to have a few minutes, and just like we did with flora, now you're going to break down the fauna. So the living beings. Now, when I say fauna, there are a couple of things to think about. One, sometimes when I'm doing this, your fauna can be playable. Like this might actually be like a playable character that might exist in this world. And that's okay if you're doing that, because you might end up latching onto, yeah, my players are all going to be this type of being. Or you might latch into like different like groups of beings. But your fauna could also be like the creatures or beasts or monsters that you encounter. So both are allowed. Remember, this is a yes and room. So if you're coming up with one that's like, oh, this is obviously going to be the playable character of this world, that's fine. If you're coming up with the ones that are more going to be the things that are encountered, also fine. I want you to go where your imagination goes. So we're going to spend a few minutes here, and I want you to come up with 3 types of fauna. And we will be breaking those down a little bit more soon too. 3 types of fauna for the world.
Anybody got some?
There's some reason I'm picturing like, because we're talking about tunnels,
Yeah, I think
like
it's
white,
Yeah, he is like the
small,
god.
almost like deer,
Prison.
and they're blind and they depend on like sense of vibration and feeling and scent.
So they're like moldy.
Yeah, they survive in the tunnels because they can't see, which it's dark there, but they
If we want
are white because it's the Arctic tundra.
Yeah.
And so they get around by vibration or echolocation?
They kind of like, also like if people were walking and you caught you're talking, that like they would sense, kind of like, don't, sharks and, yeah.
That's cool.
Cream.
I don't know,
But like
that's
a
just
damn
that.
pure.
Or tremor senses, D&D would call it.
But I don't know if they're evil or good, they're just, or
I think they
neutral.
just exist,
Yeah, and so maybe they're a source of food, maybe they're, because you see them, you know there's something coming, I don't know.
It's
So you
the
gotta,
same with the octopodlians, or that
so they're prey, and so they stay away from them, and so if you see them, you know you're safe. I don't know, so.
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool way to know that there are no octopods around.
Like they're
If they're these like moldy or just chilling.
Okay.
That's
like
cool.
And they're actually fire dogs. They have fire.
So we're 1880s, and feel free to say no, just I was gonna say, are we interested in like steampunk robot men? Just like, help. I'm thinking of like Iron Giant style chassis, but tiny.
Well, there's a research facility, why not?
Like,
You can
like,
create
like,
it at
basically like tiny Cybermen.
Yeah, a tiny little spring and rust created.
Yeah, like the very first attempt at robotics.
That would
Is that a word?
I call them
Robotics.
Bumblebots. But they're little guys, like maybe 2 feet tall at best.
We call them human bot, man bot, woman bot, whatever bot. Because we don't know, we don't know robots yet, but.
Yeah.
They run on ice.
You know, to incorporate your cool,
It's a bird.
they could be one.
Or-
the professor has like
Or
his
they could-
makes Turkish coffee.
It's combustion and we have to put ice.
In
For
for
the
the combustion,
Run
that's
some
so
of those
cool.
tiny steam engine, huh?
That's so cool.
I also love that there's a tone that's starting to come across already in your world. You've got kind of like you're gonna have this psychedelic,
Jules Verne thing.
stuff going on, and then you've got like these kind of quirky there's a quirkiness and an eccentricity that's just naturally coming out as the tone of your world. So I sort of love that.
We need a third.
What do we
Because
got?
swamps almost
My
look
first
like
immediate thought was stoats, but I don't know why they would be in the.
They're like-
I don't know what a stoat is.
Like a
It's-
hell plane. So you
Like, yeah,
fly. So yeah, like crane.
what do you get?
Allies.
It's like, it's in the weasel family.
Oh. Maybe they're guides.
Signers.
Well, it's just thinking of like these things with like little headlights on them, like headlamps to like go down these dark tunnels.
Or like fire
fantastic.
But I don't actually know what a stoat is.
Like American cranes.
Well, what's
So
Could they be large tunneling creatures, like large versions of stoats? Oh, cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Huh.
Cute.
But
And I
this
want
also
one.
could be just because I recently listened to it.
Right, but we're talking about an underground thing.
Yeah,
Like, I
like
think
they're
that
under,
works.
like they're underground. They live underground.
Are they big enough to be mounts?
Garude?
We could make
I'm gonna give you
dire
guys about
stoats.
another 60 seconds here.
All right, we got,
Yeah.
I like
Dire
it.
stoats?
Or, yeah.
sure, let's go with, we got 60
Albino
seconds.
dire stoats.
I-
Yeah, and they also,
We need one more of that.
We have three, right? We have
We have
the
three?
white blind deer,
Okay.
bumblepots,
I like
Bumblebot,
that.
and
okay.
albino dire stoats.
But is that considered fauna? We made it.
Well, we can add another one. We got time.
You want some bird?
A bird, but
Well, migratory birds. That come in,
STO.
because you do have summer in Arctic.
yeah.
So maybe they help somehow or.
Like
Yeah.
stoats.
I think-
Maybe
Yeah.
it'll be an opportunity to like, when we build out our people,
There
I'm
you go.
gonna have you guys
Yeah.
build back.
Flying things, but
They're
they're
gonna add some of the same
natural.
fun.
Winter-
So it's a different name than just.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's fruit bats. I wonder if there are
You
ice
know-
bats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Or
Mushroom
leaf.
You like-
bats.
Mushroom
But we
bats.
need.
Yes.
Because we have mushrooms. Why not?
Mushroom.
I like that. Mushroom bats.
This.
Okay, so let's
That's
hear
fantastic.
them. So let's get our three. What are our three in the swamp prison?
In the swamp prison, we are starting with fireflies, if you will. Burning, almost, I think like will-o-wisps that are meant to lead people to places that will eventually burn their lives. And they're, on fire. It's pretty cool.
All right, what else?
Well, we've got the Garuda Day, the crane ally, who are cranes, are bird transport / allies.
Okay.
Because we're kind of, this is largely kind of a plane of existence. There's not, you can't get out of here necessarily, but they can take you maybe to some safe havens.
Okay, can you say the word for me again that you named it?
A Garuda Day.
Gruidae.
Yeah, it's like the scientific family name.
Oh, nice. Look at you guys getting creative with your naming protocols. What's your third one?
Cthulhu, well, we don't know. He's a swamp warden.
He's a Cthulhu-like
Right.
swamp warden. Well, it's the 50th anniversary of Chaosium. I like the nod. So I'll have to tell Jeff. We'll be like, yep, that was good. What about our three over here? What are our three for our Arctic Research
Shall we
Station?
start? Okay, cool. So our first one is blind deer that move around through vibration sense and wander around these tunnels.
Wow.
I can't believe. Okay, the second one is bumblebots, which are tiny 2-foot tall steampunk robots to help explore these tunnels. They can do anything from make coffee to help you explore, and they run on ice chips for the steam.
Love that. Which is perfect in your how you added the ice as opposed to coal.
And then albino dire stoats, which are, I didn't even know a stoat was a thing today until today, but
It's a marsupial.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the koala family, because that's a marsupial, right? Or
Yes,
pocket.
closer
It means
towards
the.
weasel.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm mixing up. It's like kangaroos are marsupials.
Yeah.
Okay, it was Australian. I was in the right continent. Okay. So these are pouched beings that.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
pouch large, potentially they're mounts, but I think we also just said they're just generally
Would we
useful.
ride the back
Yeah.
of them or in the pouch?
Probably use them almost as mules.
Okay.
Animals.
Oh,
Like beasts of burden.
I like that. So they're like beasts of burden.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Okay.
they're helpful.
Worker.
I like it.
Yeah.
And if you got too cold though, that would be a good way to get in the
Yeah.
pouch. And,
I didn't realize they were pouched. I think that should be a VIP method of travel.
I could do the, yeah, that's cool.
So from this point forward, as you guys have already been creating, you're going to see more and more of that interrelational stuff that's happening. So now you've created fauna and flora. So you might go, oh, these are how these interact. You've created, all these different things. As you continue to create, you're going to naturally see some of those things. Jot them down. And when we come to like defining what our adventure is, some of that is going to come into play. It's going to either be defining the encounter that your characters are experiencing. It might define the actual catalyst for your adventure. So don't let that distract you from creating as we break down our threes, but don't lose those ideas. So it's going to naturally start happening here. Let that happen around your table. We want that to happen, but also focus on the breakdown of three. So our third thing that we're breaking down is our terrain. Now remember, our terrain in a man-made world can just as much be, so now you guys actually have some of these underground tunnels. So even though it's an Arctic station, you have some natural world in there as well. But if you were in a metal room, if you're in the actual prison itself, and maybe that's not the swamp, maybe there's a building or something, that room still has terrain. There's a difference between, how do the walls feel? How big are the rooms? Are there locks and doors and whatnot? That's part of a terrain of a man-made world. Or your natural world, you're obviously think about the elevation, think about the difficulty of the terrain, think about the environment, so like what kind of weather is being experienced in that terrain. Maybe you have a world that has different terrain sections, which is really great to work with in an adventure, which has already maybe become clear to you, because maybe you have your safe places where the Gruadays are able to bring people. So that might be a different terrain than the basic swamp. You have your tunnels might be a different terrain than where you have can you tell me the name of the marsupials again?
Stoats.
The stoats, where it might be your stoats might be in a different place than your blind deer, might be in a different place than your bumblebot. So take a few minutes here, and each time we kind of do this, I'm gonna add like another minute, because I know that these interrelational things are happening. So take a few minutes here and find at least like 3 important things about that terrain. That could be either identifying 3 different terrains entirely, or it could be just focusing in on one part of the terrain in one part of your world you've created and identifying 3 things about that. So take a few minutes here.
Well, there's an above ground world, obviously where the station's at.
That's a good question. Is it Arctic or is it tundra?
Yeah.
Water.
Well, it's
Well,
Arctic.
in Arctic tundra, it's ice and snow.
Most of the
Okay,
time, except for 2 or 3 months of the year, where it'd be like 40, 50 degrees. It's
Yeah.
basically the high.
But that means
For the
it's
summer,
mostly
their
barren, right?
version of the summer.
So it'd be mostly barren then.
Yeah,
Like
and then you gotta
tops
remember
up.
that there's times in the year where there's like no light for days at a time, or light all the time. So do these creatures come out only on the dark days when that time of the year, or do they stay underground? How do we,
I think they
how do we
come up-
how do we run across this place?
I think they come up definitely when it's dark or twilight, which makes that whole area more hostile, right? Because if there are like
Yeah.
holes from these vents, these things can spill out during like the 10 months of the year where it's very dark, right? I think that'd be cool.
Or we could fall in them. Or
I think so.
we could accidentally fall in them and it'd be like a slide of ice going into somewhere, where there's another hole that goes into the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I was thinking, was like, what are our 3 kind of, we have the upper level, which is the tundra,
Right.
thermal tunnels, and then I think the point was the thermal tunnels that connect to waterways
Yeah.
to lead to the ocean, right? So we're talking about cave spelunking transitioning to scuba diving of some sort, like
Yeah.
really 1800 or late 1800s
Does it
scuba
even
diving.
have anything close there? I don't remember. I don't know when they
Jules
created that.
Verne's contraptions of like riveting somebody in.
Yeah, what did they do about that I don't know. This is 1880s.
It's like bell diver type thing, you know what I mean? Like with those big welded together, like it's possible, it's just very unwieldy. But it would have been. So what else then? So we have thermal tunnels, waterways, Arctic tundra, those are 3 types. I figured we could add a little more.
Now, the box supposed to be natural to this environment, or that's our creation?
The bumblebugs?
Yeah, the mobile bots are.
I think it's just natural to the setting, but not the environment. You know, like
So
the
that's-
environment is
Yeah, 'cause
Natural to
funky
setting.
enough that they figured something
But
out.
then you make those, that little bots, the little bots, or?
I think they're just for the station, right? Like
Yeah,
this is an
that's-
advanced research station, so
Yeah,
it's
so
like,
we created them for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
And the station could be another terrain.
Yes.
it should be.
everywhere else.
Very laboratory-like, I guess.
It's just.
Yeah, what are they
it's
studying
Where
in
it's
this
where you
research station?
Pokemon Center where you go.
I think that might depend on the characters,
There
the
you
type
go.
of characters.
When we get to
They
the
have,
table.
it's already came up with that.
I love it.
It's
Yeah.
biological research, since
Yeah.
there are these bizarre creatures.
Yeah.
They can't fly.
So some sort of xenobiology.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Love fusion instead of canopy. Man, it's the best we got, baby. But it's love. I love that. That's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna see a pen.
So I love that it's just super twilight and dark.
Like the actual mandate.
So you have to decide as you talk about that, and it's interesting because they also have kind of a darkish sort of environment. Sometimes there's not a wrong answer to this, but it's what you're wanting your players to experience. So sometimes, you know, when you watch a movie, especially like a horror movie,
Okay,
it's
so
like
like
all in
whatever
darkness.
country that is.
you're going to keep your viewers
Yes,
in
or
that
trees
place
are
where they're
like,
just like that tension is
and they're not
higher.
even, the upper areas no good.
And you
That's
have
why
to
the birds
decide
there.
as a creator
Like the
or as a
roots are
creative
really
team in this
strong
case,
kind of tightness.
do you want that or do you want them to have a moment where they can go blank? You know, and there's not a wrong answer, but you're creating different things. It's about what kind of experience are you looking to create for your character? Do you want them kept in this kind of twilight, this darkness? I like how you were addressing the fact that, hey, if we're in one of these Arctic, whether, you know, there's whole seasons that are dark, you know, do you want that? Or do you want to offer them some reprieve? And if so, as you're thinking about your terrains, what might be a scenario that would be?
Trees might be good.
Here's a random question for you.
Yeah.
What if we set this all up based on the light and dark cycle? Or like, when it's the bright days of the month, that's when you do character creation and everybody comes to the research station. But then the actual game is all the dark months. So you're playing from like, I don't know, August through,
but slower, like that.
you know what I mean? We do it in phases.
We run out of
food.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So the reprieve would be during the light months.
Right.
People water fighting and go, what I got?
Yeah, when they rotate out the crew or whatever for this.
Right, I can see plants for a little while and I can see the sun.
It's also out, like the research station is like
To eat off of the.
where you sleep.
Because I'm like, yeah.
I figured that was the one like safe
Have
hub you
like
have.
fire, so you have light and.
Yeah.
Or you can also have the research station built over a tunnel.
Way.
We
It's almost
extend it
like
over a
a-
tunnel
it's
that's
like a-
nearby or something and then we have a hatch
Yeah.
that goes into the tunnel.
Towards the food.
So that's our point of entry.
Yeah, or at least one of them.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like the research station as like a hub safe zone, just in general.
Well,
Kinda like
maybe you
monster
have a
movies,
small
right?
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, it's like the one place you're like, okay, well, they probably can't get to us from in here.
Done for, so you have to have like a little. room
Until they
for
do.
escaping.
Until they do.
Until somebody comes in with a mushroom
So like
bag.
maybe like,
All right, yeah,
like-
if they were a little too high and then you hit the clothes door and
Yeah.
the critters get out.
yeah, like, and if you're in there like 3 days, or something.
Or not, I don't know.
You know, it's got its whatever.
Maybe that depends on the roll of the die,
Maybe that's
either
where
friend or foe.
those that.
Dude, maybe they like spit the mushroom hallucinogenics.
That's a good idea, it's like a
Is
mist,
because
one of the creatures can spray you
Yeah.
with
They eat
that
the
and then you
mushrooms.
like, well, man.
Or, I mean, yeah, if you're danger, you know, they could be like, maybe this is cliche, but like zombie-ish.
That's part of rehabilitation.
And that's the
Because
reason.
we have mushroom bats.
Yeah.
So if the mushroom bats spread the
It's
spores
like,
of the
Being part of the
mushroom
community.
Yeah.
toxin, we can incorporate those together.
As
Right.
opposed to just being selfish and
It's
self-serving.
I like that.
self-serving.
But
So
the idea
maybe
of the
bat
permanent
nests
zombie.
in the thermal tunnels are like,
With that energy.
like you're saying, I was thinking of The Last of Us, kind of like where you have to go in with gas masks. It's not that you can't, they're just bat nests, so they're full of these like hallucinogenic spores. So if you have to explore any of that territory, you have to have gas masks or something like that, right?
I think we need a cave for all that.
The bats could be a symbolic thing too, they could be like a canary.
When you're building out, it's okay.
Type thing. If you don't see any bats, that means that maybe
Certainly, even if you come, I'll take it from you.
the
You
bad
have
stuff is
things
taken
that
over,
are
whether
like
it's the
that-
spores or.
It may still come into play
That's a
in
really good
the adventure piece
And
of it.
We've noticed that.
I'm gonna
maybe
give you
the
guys
bat
about one
population
more minute
begins to
here, and
dwindle
then
or
we're gonna
something
do
like
some
that.
fun interplay
After
at
we
the end of
connect
the
dots,
set.
and we're like, oh, it's getting closer, it's spreading through
The
the tunnels.
one-way entrance
Because it can
into
spread
the
throughout
swamp?
the
I
world.
think the one way out.
Well,
I think that's
we have the
last one
albino
way out.
dire stairs.
Okay. They were
As
but I wanted it, so I thought
they
I'd
don't-
Oh.
Shit, is
nobody
is that the one
knows
that
about-
doesn't chill near
Word
the
about this cave.
moss or something?
Right.
So what role would they play?
The deer.
The
is
albino deer.
one-
The deer, it's a
The
deer.
They're albino,
The
they're
deer
albino
is-
deer, they're
It's
blind.
like the Arctic one.
Information
Like,
that
yeah,
they
like-
learn on the trees.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm like.
I think the deer eats the moss.
Oh,
That makes sense.
Yeah, I knew
And
a
that'd be
guy.
a lovely area.
And they're immune
Bioluminescence
to the
and
mushrooms.
deer, you know.
They're like immune, they're not affected by the mushroom.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they've incorporated it into their genetics.
So then we could say the mushroom bats are where you will find octopodalians, because there wouldn't be any deer there,
Yeah.
right?
You think is good.
So if you see mushroom bats, you know that there's probably octopodalians and
It just kind
mushrooms.
of appears as
It's a
this
both type
friendly little
situation.
thing, but it's actually this being, but we don't have to.
Okay, so we've got one who stepped away for a second, so I'm gonna start with the swamp prison again. Tell me about your 3 terrains, or 3.5.
Oh,
We have
what does
the
a lab
panels,
look like
which is
anyway?
The swamp proper is just for, basically it's a swamp,
Yep.
ocean,
What should be
with
like,
lily pads and
I was
no
thinking
dry
of
land.
Frankenstein's lab.
Okay.
oh, it could be,
Just meant with the amount here.
Next we've
because
got
it could
canopy,
depend on
which
the
is
types
a,
of characters.
Right.
Right, so it depends on the specialties of each group. I'm gonna imagine that each one brings a different set of tools, it's different types of scientists, if we're all in the lab,
I
that's
like
usually
it,
how,
because it's
how you wanna
really-
do it, right?
it's-
Kinda like
it's
we're right
rest.
now, we're all
Like-
different, we
it's-
contribute
It's
different
not the end,
ideas.
you're still like, you're in the swamp, it's
At
a
the
canopy
beginning
over
of
a
like
swamp,
their
so.
stay,
So
it's
you
like
keep the
pristine.
tension even
Right.
while
And at the
recover,
end,
your
it's
characters are
rusted.
having an opportunity to recover, I
I
love
like
that.
that.
What else, we got a third
Because
one?
of everything that has happened.
So it's just equipment
The root
maintenance
cave.
that has to happen in the
So
background.
this is
Yeah.
our kind of
I think
jail
that's-
area, that it's a whole area
They're
that's.
xenobiologists, but
that
maybe
kind of
they're,
holds you
So
in
this
and
is
it
from
the
the
prison.
pharmaceutical corporation. Who's willing to like.
Yeah.
We're also talking about how potentially.
Well, my
Paid for by some
character's
corpo
not
that
there
wants
for
to
that.
you know,
fund us and
uh,
learn some
the
kind
man
of
trap
Sure.
was that
Could be
we
pharma,
don't
could be anything,
just
but we're
grab
bad at
a
it.
Okay,
trap.
yeah.
Because it could also be like
Pull
a
it
little
into
bear
the-
and be like, there's oil.
Yeah.
I like this, I love, you're getting that interplay, which we're gonna be working on definitely next. What are our
Pharmaceutical corporations
3
back then.
terrains here in our research station?
3 terrains. We have thermal tunnels, which was kind of
Mm-hmm.
built in.
And that is, the thermal tunnels is where the mushrooms and moss are, right? Okay.
We also, these thermal tunnels eventually lead to waterways because there's underwater component to exploring this.
Okay,
Then there's the Arctic tundra that everything is set on top of, where it's, I think we said 9 or 10 months of the year it's dark, and then the other 2 or 3 it's bright.
Right.
And then the
kind of
actual
warm.
research station itself, which is for the study of xenobiology,
okay,
and it's a safe zone.
okay. So we have actually, I'm gonna do my teacher thing. So we started at the top with our world and genre concepts. So just our big 10,000 foot view. And we are breaking down our world into its setting, its people, and its physics. Our setting, we have just taken the time to break down into our flora, our fauna, and our terrain. And we did 3 of each. We're gonna wrap up setting before we move on to our next piece, our people. Actually, we're gonna come back to the people. We're gonna first move to physics and then come back to people. But to wrap up settings, I want you guys to think, remember I said some of that interplay is gonna be happening already in your brains. This is your time. I want you to come up with 3 that you have not already defined potential interplays that exist between your flora, your fauna, and your terrain. For instance, how do different terrains affect different flora? How do different fauna consume different flora? So all of these things, come up with 3 interplays within just what you've created in your setting. 3 interplays between your flora, fauna, and terrain. It's okay if they're all flora interplays, whatever, just 3 within that whole setting thing. So just take a couple minutes here.
Try to write down what we have deer eat the moss and avoid
Deer eat the moss.
and avoid mushrooms.
Avoid the mushrooms, but because they eat the moss, this is why they're blind.
Right. That's cool.
And the tentacle thingies will eat the deer.
Right, and they avoid the tentacle plants.
Maybe they're a little bit
Maybe
like
should the,
at war because
Go ahead.
they're like.
I was gonna say,
you
should
know,
the
maybe
tentacle plants be kind of coordinated, since we do have the 2 terrains?
I think they should be, right? I think that their value is that they can both like latch onto rock and land and also float through the water.
Yeah.
And stuff
So
too.
maybe their roots go all the way down
Yeah.
towards the water. Maybe we could use them to lead
Or
us to
maybe
the
the
tunnels with the water.
fireflies are a little bit of that.
That could be cool. I like that.
To drop like little fireballs onto the cannons.
I love that the deer eat the moss and that's what makes them blind.
Fireflies, if given too much time, too much action, too much.
So tentacle plants
Too long.
roots to the water and guides you to the 2 terrain types.
Great.
Too long, it's gone good.
Yeah.
Fireflies, fireflies.
And then we had mushroom bats, which let you know that you have the tentacle plants and mushrooms in the vicinity, because they only nest
And
near
that's
the
also why you
mushrooms, right?
can't.
Yeah, and they graze on the mushrooms too.
So then, because fireflies occupied flies.
And the tentacle plants are in that area because, why now?
And
Do we state that? Since the bats are around the tentacle plants and the mushrooms.
The bats don't get eaten by the tentacle plants because they're too tiny,
Okay,
and likewise, they get nothing out of the tentacle plants. So it's just advantageous terrain for both parties, right?
gotcha.
Tentacle plants can chill there, they create a human environment for ice mushrooms to live in, which attract the bats who eat it and then spread the spores out.
Where do they nest?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah.
In those caves or tunnel systems with the mushrooms, right? So if you see the bat nest, you know you're near mushrooms. If you see mushrooms, you can guess that you're near a bat nest, right?
Okay.
Question.
Mhm.
Could we make them like clownfish and sea anemones?
Maybe there's.
In what way? I have no idea.
Somewhere.
Clownfish live in sea
Somewhere,
anemones.
like somewhere deep in this lily pad
Oh.
swamp or something.
So the mushroom, then the octopi thing could be like that.
Yeah.
See it?
Yeah, like the bats
Yeah, like
live
a mud
in.
I was thinking about
Yeah,
that because,
yeah,
because
that's
then,
so-
because it protects them.
Yeah, that's so
That's
cool.
why.
I love
thinking
that.
about
I like to.
That's awesome. So they live in the octopodians?
Yeah.
Make mud.
That's
And
that's
also-
perfect connections.
Yeah.
And of course, the baguano eats the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Well, if you can get, yeah, the name is the fire,
Live
right? It's about the
octopodians.
fire.
Okay, that's so cool.
I love that maybe you say, they're.
So it's symbiotic, so the octopodians provide protection
And
and
that's
such
why-
for the bats. And what do the bats do for the octopodians? I guess,
Oh, boy.
yeah.
So maybe something grows on this.
I'm gonna give you guys about another minute
Octopodians,
here,
you know,
and I'm gonna tell you why this was important.
Like.
And so they,
it could be
so they
it could
eat
be
those
like
pests.
Yeah, it could be the pests.
So what would those pests be? I wonder.
Yeah, but at the same time, oh no, you know, you mess with their hive and. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, both.
The other plan I was thinking is maybe they transfer some chemical from the mushroom onto the octopodians. Yeah, or as like a protective, like, what is that thing they use for pests? It's like protective pesticide kind of thing. Like the octopodians can't reach the mushrooms, the bats can go and eat. And in the process of eating, they collect this like chemical substance that's good for the octopodian. But it's, you know, incidental. It's like bees pollinating a flower, right? They're not trying to do it. They just happen to pull back the stuff that coats the entire surface of the tentacle or can get into the tentacle's distribution system.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was this third one?
So we
You
have.
got the mole creature. You got only a couple seconds, I think.
We have deer eating moss, avoiding mushroom and the octopodians. We have the octopodium's roots leading to the waterways,
Mhm.
and we have the mushroom bat's complex ecology with the octopodium.
So they excrete something?
I think the mushrooms just excrete the toxin
Yeah.
that the bats carry back, which is okay for the octopodium system. It helps it,
All right,
deal
guys,
with pests.
let me hear about my swamp prison. What are my 3
Do
interplays
something
Alright,
with
so
that small thing.
from the swamp prison?
Okay,
to
we
avoid
have,
and you
we have the Grude
Benefit from
transports,
that. Yeah.
the prisoners up to the canopy.
What about the mole
for
thing?
some reprieve.
Okay.
The deer?
But
The little creature
if they
thing.
stay
The
up there
silks.
too
Silks.
long,
Real quick.
then we have our fireflies that will start bombing.
You.
Okay.
The silks
Trying to
live on the
set the
tundra.
canopy on fire.
Yeah.
to
They
destroy
gotta
it
stay
for-
up on.
Okay, all right, so like don't take advantage of this reprieve, y'all, or,
It's too long, can't take too
I
long.
think so.
yes,
To that end, the
First
fireflies,
take
their
the
blood mess reside in and amongst the lily pads.
Okay.
And,
Try to carry things
And they
down.
I'm
provide
picturing-
nutrients. It's like a
it's like a nectar thing, yeah.
Is there such
yeah.
I'm
thing?
picturing like this swamp of sadness where you have like those mud mountains.
Oh,
Yeah, never ending story.
Yes.
Very cool, very cool. What are our interplays over here in our research station?
Okay, so we've got the blind white deer that are blind because they eat this moss, but they also they avoid the areas where the moss comes from, which is from mushrooms and stuff. So they act as like a canary system to let you know if you're near
Okay,
the mushroom or the tentacle plants.
so that's like when you see the moss, you know the mushrooms, the psychedelic mushrooms are there. But if you see the blind deer like in front of this tunnel, you're like, and they go to the tunnel and turn around, you're like, yeah, we're not going down that tunnel. Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay.
Moving on, we have mushroom bats, which we never covered last time, but they nest inside the tentacle creatures that feed on mushrooms. So they eat mushrooms,
They're
which
in the tentacle creature.
the tentacle plant things, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, again, that is a way to let you know that you're near one of these tentacle creatures and also mushrooms if you see the bats. The tentacle plants are important because they lead to these underground waterways. So you start exploring thermal tunnels, but in order to find the underground waterways, you have to actually find some of these tentacle plants to then
Okay.
make it
The
into
root systems lead to the water.
So basically you can get close, but not too close.
Okay. Well, and you need to like your adventure hopefully your adventure takes you through some
I
of
think
these
you'll have to.
obstacles. Exactly. So I'm really picturing both of your worlds, you guys. It's really cool. Okay. So we moved. We went from our world. We did our setting. We broke up our setting into our flora, our fauna, our terrain, and then we created some interplay between those things. And we're going into our third one, and we'll double back to people. Our world is made up of our setting, our people, and our physics. We're going to jump forward to the physics. Physics is going to be broken up into the 3 things of our nature, our magic, and our technology. Now, let me talk about what I mean by these things. So, your nature, this is going to be literally how the relationships, the landscapes. So some of this you've actually, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this because a lot of this you've identified in identifying your setting. It's going to be what are those relationships? What is the uniqueness? What are the landscapes? In that nature, is there something that, like you guys have the light and dark cycle, that's part of your nature. For you guys, it's, you have this lack of land. So you got to think about resource and how some of that stuff, how are people, like how are beings getting about, in this world? What is your nature, your relationships, the landscape, and the uniqueness of that? When we're going to be talking about our technology, we're going to be talking about, this could be everything from a hammer is technology. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to think Star Trek and futuristic. A lot of times people, they hear that word technology and they're automatically going to this digital computer futuristic sci-fi world. Technology is a wheel. Technology is a hammer. Technology is just, it's the clothing that protects you. Leather can be technology. So technology is basically just that man-made invention that has revolutionized life in some way for you. So that could be your energy sources, your tool craft, as well as like what you're wearing and where you're living. All of this can be a part of technology. And then when we get into the magic, here's the thing about magic. Much like when people hear technology, they automatically go into sci-fi. They hear that word magic and they're already like, it's wands, it's spells, it's potions. You know, Beam Me Up Scotty is magic. You know, that's like magic is anything that's like, this is an extraordinary thing that can't happen in real life. So there's something in your world that makes this happen. Your bioluminescent moss is magic. You know, although we do have bioluminescence in our world, but it's pretty magical, I gotta say. So magic is anything that's gonna give your characters that awe factor. It's like it's cool is what our magic is. And you can even think about whether that magic is a natural, is a spiritual, is a ritual. Obviously, if you're not doing something that's fantastical, it's going to be more of a natural type of magic as well, or inspired by the technology. So I wanted to kind of like talk through those ones before we broke down the physics of our world. So we're going to spend just a couple of minutes on the nature because you guys have covered a lot of the nature of the world already in covering your setting. But we're going to take a couple minutes and we're going to break down like try to add 3 additional things about the nature of your world. Remember, this can be about the relationships between things in your world. It could be about the landscape and maybe important places. This is maybe where your cave could come in. Or it can be something that's just truly unique about the nature of your world. So just a couple minutes on this one.
I guess one unique thing I have, we didn't explain, but was that, you know, all these bizarre creatures are coming up from the ocean floor because there's those volcanic vents creating like a unique branch of life that's different from everywhere else. And yeah.
You're right, we didn't, but that's kind of critical, that's why everything is bizarre. So, yeah, okay. It's volcanic vents, is it spewing something magical that is gifting these things with bizarre forms of life?
Well, so, you know, in nature, I guess there are these vents and they create heat underground that creates the energy to make, you know, complex biological things. So it's like a whole new branch of
Okay, so
evolution.
this is just purely, okay, I love it, yeah.
We're only gonna do about another minute here, because I know you guys have already done some of this in your setting.
I guess for technology, we have like the new harnesses and things like that, tools that
Because they're giant lily pads.
take underground with us, and then we
Or
have
if they're
the
dead already, or some kind of died, you can
elementary kind of
boats.
robotic
Yeah.
technology. We
I
don't,
just put steampunk.
So what about the magic then?
I'm gonna say we don't have the ability to talk about and below like a telephone, because that hasn't been
No,
done
I
yet.
don't think so.
So,
The lab and the,
And the material is like
That's
durable. It's like they use it in clothing, they can use it for boats, they can use it for a lot of, it can be like used as armor.
Fibrous.
Like,
if you
It's like
pull
strong
up when you're down
fibrous.
in the tunnel, if you're needing an emergency, that means
I
that
can't think of the telephone, isn't it?
Right. Do we have magic in this?
that would be the bioluminescent moss.
Yeah,
and
Let's keep that.
the
Like our robots are
mushrooms.
magic and
they're magic,
I think the mushrooms would take that, well, we have like that, but
It
is because
10 more seconds here, wrap up your thoughts.
It's running ice.
Yeah.
For the mush.
the other thing I was thinking is, you know, we're playing around with mushrooms and stuff. We could do to like magic by virtue of drug concoctions with the different like spores. Which is how you like control animals or you know what I mean?
Well, maybe it is magic.
All right, so let's hear in our Arctic research station, what are a couple of new nature things that you have decided about your world?
Maybe they're like.
So the reason there's this unique flora and fauna under there is because of volcanic vents underwater that are creating, you know, the energy is creating complex molecules that create life. And so we've got this whole
Okay.
new branch of life coming up through these vents.
Ooh,
So that's why they're studying that.
ooh, I like that. And it's just, yeah, it's like, it almost becomes a speculative fiction thing as opposed to just
Right.
general fiction. I like that. What else?
like technology, we're gonna be using these
Okay, we're gonna break down technology in
Oh,
the
this is
next,
just
the
the
next one. This, we're just talking nature here.
Oh, nature,
We
sorry.
kind of skipped around all.
Oh, that's all right, that's all right. So,
Our light dark cycle.
we have our light dark cycles, nature, okay?
And there was, conversation about during the light period, that's, they're resupplying, you're working on your characters as far as the game mechanics.
Okay,
And maybe communicating with the
So
home office.
it's both a light dark cycle and it's also kind of a
Phases
a
of play.
light, a season cycle,
Yeah.
a seasonal phases cycle. I like that. We're gonna come back to the technology, so hold on to that.
Sure.
Definitely gonna hear about that. What are our three kind of nature things here?
We decided there's fish. We hadn't talked about fish before. There's
Love
fish now.
Fish.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's fish now.
Swamp prison, not serving fish.
Now serving fish.
Fish Friday, every Friday.
That's right.
Every day. What else? What else we got?
The lily pads are like fibrous.
Mm-hmm.
They're more durable than just normal.
I heard you guys talking about this, and what I love about this is because I was hearing Beth say, so this is going to be something that they're using for their clothing, that they're using for their shelters, that they're using for all these different things. And I love that you're using the pieces of your world. And as you said, that starts to bleed into technology, and you guys, they went into technology over here too. It happens. It's natural because we are at that point in the world where everything you come up with is now related to everything else. That's great. So let's take a couple of specific minutes on technology then. Let's talk about what are those energy sources? How are they doing things? What is their tool craft? What are they wearing? Where are they living? All of this can be technology. So anything that you can think of, if you come up with more than three here, that's okay. Because I know the brains are going. But we're just gonna take a couple minutes here on
I
technology.
love
You had
what
said
you
something
said
about
that
the
like
gas
it's
mask.
ice. So I want all energy for everything to be just ice based.
We could, because if we're in the frozen period for 9 months out of the year, and we don't get shipment, and we run out of cold, or is it run out?
Yes.
Let's say, can we say something like, maybe we figured out a way to use the mushrooms, they interact somehow with the ice in the machine, and that's what generates the
Are we
power.
like growing mushrooms for food?
Yeah.
Well, you could, but you'd be high off it too.
Well, some of them, and
Well, maybe it goes
yeah,
right by
about the
itself.
spores, they might be okay, you know.
If you cook them, that's maybe one of our big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only if you cook them, like,
In a pot or something, whatever.
I like that
You'll
you've
be our
added,
backup
you've
food.
added.
Like no one wants to do it.
So like, so like how olive oil by itself is bad, cooked down olive oil is better for you.
Just like
Still bad, but it's
So
better
I
for
think
you.
upstairs we have the technology of food storage
Mhm.
because we have to compile during the light months.
Right.
And the dark months, so that's where we have to eat from.
Also-
So if we run out or someone steals the food, we have to use the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then you talked about like gas masks or something.
I was just thinking like, that's right, gas masks for like spelunking through areas that have like all these horrible spores everywhere.
Yeah. And there, you said that you riveted.
Oh, yeah, they totally steampunk, they'd be super heavy.
Yeah, like for like diving and stuff, like they have to be like riveted into. Yeah, it's very heavy and unwieldy.
Yeah. You can barely.
So basically, just like the scuba suit.
Yeah.
So
Oh, no, our body paint.
leathery lily pads,
No,
fibrous
suits.
roots.
Yeah.
Or no, actually, they did in the water.
Yeah.
Steampunk style ones are these just massive suits that don't look fun.
I would say this.
Okay, we're gonna spend about just another 30 seconds here. Kind of like polish the ideas that you are working on.
So clothing's in another science or another technology. One that keeps us warm when we're up tundra. Two, another one that keep us cool in the hot
Yeah,
tunnels.
that's what I was
Or
picturing.
maybe both. Maybe we have a special clothing that will do both, like the stuff we have these days. Wicks away the sweat type thing, you know.
Clothing for the elements.
Yeah, and that's also gonna be an element for diving. It's gotta
Like-
be airtight, right? So.
Yeah.
Are we thinking like this?
Yes, or
Maybe just for diving, not for walking around.
no, not for
Yeah.
walking
Or
around.
like
You
this?
gotta work your neck out just to walk around above the ground or even on.
All right, let's hear it.
I kind of like the look of that too. It just looks so cool.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Instead of like a giant tube.
One is
I don't know.
Or a giant
More
storm.
hilarious. I'm ready to go, guys. Like, I can't turn my neck.
For like hardness on a lily pad that can be like basically dry, like paper mache.
Okay. I like it. I like it. What else? Give me another one.
We got
How about
canopy
divers watches or
construction.
something
So
like
in
that?
our
You know, they might
canopies,
have
you've
done
got
it.
almost like your
We
Ewok
came up
village
with
kind of thing going on, but all of it's made from just trees.
That's like how you were
Ooh.
part of that crew. Your
Ooh,
first
I
thing you
love
get
it.
given a
I love
diamond
it.
watch.
Do we have a
You
third?
made this, don't worry.
Right.
Going back to lily pads using like stems
Like gears and all this stuff.
Yeah.
the fibers to be used to help with sewing or making rope or.
What are you thinking
tools for,
about?
like,
Something good?
spear
Something great.
fishing.
Okay, okay, so like, so
Helps
it's similar to the way that you
Snow diving,
cure
that's
the
cool.
lily pads in different ways.
Yeah.
The roots, like they
I
can
brought
be
my dog. I'm
like
over
stringy
it.
if you're like breaking them down and it's like a thread, or it could be like a harder, you know, thing that, gotcha.
But as
Alright.
you're harvesting your resources, you're reducing the amount of livable land
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes, so you'll have to think about how does it reproduce? So what about over here? What's our 3 technology elements?
Okay, so everything is run off of coal and ice because it's like a steampunk world.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll place your world.
Their backup food that they tend to are mushrooms, which are cultivated, but nobody wants to get to there. But like when you're on month 8 out of 9, you might have to.
Okay.
And then we have all of our tech is like steampunky, explicitly. Our do you have the picture still? Our diving suit is more like the old school Jules Verne 1880s.
Man,
kind
I'll
of.
take me
We
some
decided
Jules Verne
on-
any day.
This one
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
instead of this one.
It's gonna be Iron Giant.
Oh my gosh. So that second one reminds me, do we have any Star Trek Voyager fans here? Oh, yeah, like remember when they went Dr. Chaotica and he had the metal like robot? That's what that second suit reminds me of, but I like the first one. And I'll take a Jules Verne sci-fi almost any day. I love that. So we're gonna literally take 60 seconds. And now here's what I want you guys to do in this next 60 seconds. I want it to be rapid fire. I want everybody in your group to throw something out, like super rapid fire. You have 1 minute to do this, and I want you to think interplay again. Except now you've got your technology and, oh, I'm lying. We're gonna do that in a minute. No, I didn't get to surprise you guys because we forgot to do our magic. So first we're doing our magic, but then we'll be doing our 60-second cool interplay.
Okay.
All right, magic. So think about your magic of your world. Take a couple minutes here. And this is, again, to think about your magic. It can be spiritual, it can be ritual, it can be natural. It's just that awe factor. It's that thing that's extraordinary. It's that thing that's beyond human. It doesn't actually have to be spells, potions, and wands.
I had thought about this, the mushrooms, about the spores. Maybe when you're in the suits, like the spores can get in. Like over time, you can't be down there too long. But the hallucination is like a nightmare. It's like Cthulhu. Like if you get spores,
Until
in,
nightmare
worse.
mode.
yeah, you're not getting up. Like
So you like me to kill yourself or something?
yeah, something bad will happen for sure.
So like night terrors or
Yeah.
sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
So the danger isn't that you're gonna kill others, it's that you would kill yourself and just.
Your
Run out
mental
of
health tanks.
Tanks,
Yeah. You're saying
Nobody
this
wants
goes
to be alone
nowhere.
I mean, we're isolated anyway. There could be a mental health meter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, how about it? It depends on the roll of the dice.
like
What
a,
if-
like a
it
sanity.
could be,
Yeah.
yeah, or it could also be the effect. You could change on the based on the roll of the dice. Maybe sometimes it's evil, you try to kill yourself. Sometimes you're just like
and of course,
So that's
happy for whatever reason. You think you're talking to, I don't know, you're like 5 years old again or something like that. All of a sudden you regress. And everybody you're looking at now resembles like your parents or like your best friend, a dog that you lost. I don't know, something bizarre, but you're like, oh my God, hey, come over here, come, I got a treat, or something.
It sounds like our antidote then is like the natural world is trying to kill us with spores.
Yes.
Our antidote then is steampunk science.
Yeah.
So like we build all these suits and robots and whatever to protect ourselves and go in, but our natural enemy is just nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Okay, I'm gonna give you guys about another minute on this part here, about another minute on your
That would be
magical light
player
things.
wise. They magic up steampunk things, right? Like that'd probably be something they roll for. Is like, oh, I have a steampunk
How
creation.
good did you build this?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
What I was thinking is like, our enemy is the spores and nature in general. So that could be player magic then could be science to combat it, except it's all wacky, kooky, bizarre science. Yeah. Whatever things that don't actually exist. So that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, readiness or.
Like basically making a of extraordinary
I'm
talent.
not
Right.
familiar with steampunk here. I kinda know about it, but I don't know much
It's just
about
like 1880s Jules Verne type of things where like, think like Dr. Frankenstein, mad scientist, right? It doesn't,
Okay.
none of it is real.
Because
It's just gonna be like, oh, I induced electricity through this Tesla coil to make this mushroom shut up.
Okay.
Most sci-fi shows.
In that light.
Tesla coils have lasers.
Yeah.
So spores are the only magic?
I think spores are nature's magic against
We're gonna
us.
do about 10 more seconds here.
And science is our protection against nature.
And also is
It's full
it's
magic.
futuristic
Yeah.
because we're in the 1800s, so that's the magic, is that we're
Yeah.
in the 1800s, but we have pretty good.
Pretty advanced tech, yeah.
All right, we're gonna start at the Arctic Research Station first this time. Give me 3 magical elements of your world.
So we did save the biomass.
Mm-hmm.
Just I forgot what we said.
The bioluminescence.
The way
Yeah.
that it is
It
lit by the
glows
spores and it
and
glows.
all of that.
Mhm.
And then the bubble bots, which it runs on the ice blocks
Mhm.
or the combustion.
You gotta
Um,
actually.
And then we said that the spores from the mushroom, if we inhale too much or ingest too much,
Okay,
it tanks our mental health.
okay.
So we start hallucinating and
You could be reacting very poorly in your
Yes.
player group. You could be like going against each other. You're gonna change your whole personality.
Yeah.
Sanity attacks.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I love, there are a few systems that are incorporating some of this, like the mental health piece more and more now. And I think it's a really fun piece to play with in an adventure. You know, it's real, like real humans, you know, we actually have both of those kinds of health with us. So what about over here? What do we got for our 3 magical elements of our swamp prison?
We've got our bonus terrain of the cave. We finally identified that our cave is, if the swamp world is more like a plane of existence or a world, this is the singular like wormhole and or portal to actual getting off of this planet. There's a singular place that teleports you to
Okay.
life again.
So this is like a prison colony.
Yeah.
So that cave is like, that's the prison gate and like,
You can't
okay,
just break into it.
yes, can't just break in, can't just break out. I love that. Okay,
And the swamp is, to get to the cave, the swamp is aware, it's conscious, it's sentient.
Yeah.
And so you have to basically, and it tests you, and then you have to basically prove that you have been redeemed in order to get access to the cave.
I love the storytelling there. Oh, that's awesome. Do we have a third one? I mean, that's a plenty what you got, but go on.
It's kind of a swamp is a redemption, is aware of redemption, but also it also will provide and push you to action and add obstacles.
Oh.
Is the ultimate warden
Okay,
the
so
swamp?
it's actually gonna offer temptation for you not to redeem yourself.
Is the ultimate warden the swamp itself?
We kind of stumbled into Strahd territory here, where the swamp itself is sentient and wants the people in it to succeed. The warden itself perhaps does not.
He might be the final judge or the final
It's gonna be the boss fight.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, very cool, very cool. All right, what are, we already talked there. Now you guys are, this is a shock, but we're gonna do a cool 60 seconds. I know, you didn't expect this coming.
Really? In 60 seconds? I don't know.
We are literally going to do 60 seconds. So the way that this next 60 seconds is going to work, I'm gonna wait till this turns. When these 60 seconds works, I want you guys to rapid fire out as many interplay ideas that you have. This is now you've covered your full setting of your flora, your fauna, and your terrain, and you've covered your full physics of your nature, your technology, and your magic. So you are going to spend 60 seconds. Everything is yes and. Nobody's gonna stop. You don't necessarily have to dig super into the details yet. You're gonna get an opportunity to do that. That's it. I'm gonna stop you after 60 seconds, pencils down. That's gonna be it. And go.
So we just had.
I was thinking that if they,
Yeah.
we talked about the nightmares and stuff, if they do regress back to like childlike or baby like, then we have like a nursery area like where those people are, and we are hoping to find a cure to bring them back.
So basically like an Alzheimer's wing, an
Yeah, it's an Alzheimer's wing.
an Alzheimer's, yeah.
Right.
Well, how long
But
does the
it's
effect
for-
last?
They act like little kids and, yeah.
Based on what you're
Maybe
saying,
that
it
should
sounds
be
like
based
it's
on the
permanent, right?
Depends,
Well,
I would say
we're
how
hoping to
much,
find a cure.
Depends on the intake.
depends on how much is intake, and if it's severe enough, we have to find a cure.
It's so dark.
The dice should dictate that.
In addition to.
Right, is it a few minutes, is it hours, is it days, or months?
Is it years,
Is it
if
years?
that?
There also are sacrificers, like if the demon can together, so we just sacrifice.
Right, the demon, we don't have a big bed yet, like we haven't been underwater.
But maybe that's.
Oh, yeah, maybe the mushrooms are the big ones, you're right, 'cause they can spread.
Hi, pencils down. All right.
That was quick.
Let me hear the interplay over here for our Arctic Research Station. What do we got going on?
We have a nursery area type Alzheimer's almost like unit for people who do inhale the spores and have regressed back to like childlike behaviors. And we're hoping to have
Love it.
hoping to have like research to help cure them.
Okay.
Which is a big deal, because the mushrooms could spread beyond, that's a concern. Could
Turn the
spread.
whole colony into like a regressed childhood culture.
Yes.
So
And
Very
then
cool.
the big bad, something,
Yeah, what do we decide on
get to-
big bad in this?
That's
one?
okay.
Coming or could come, and if needed, we could sacrifice those people
okay,
to
okay.
survive.
That's dark, and I like it. All right, what's our interplay over here?
I like that the station comes with built-in
Look
nutrients.
at
I think
We
it-
don't want to
I think
sacrifice
that thing
them.
will be in the ocean,
also,
and it's connected to the
The
roots.
jailer
Those are the babies
gains
of the big
power
bad thing.
from it.
So,
doesn't-
And maybe if we don't
There
feed
are
them,
some-
Yeah.
Right.
Of those who are.
maybe if we don't feed them,
So that's why it's like,
Okay.
So I know said like the life cycle.
The carnivorous lilies, but there are different.
What
the
if
carnivorous lilies
there's,
are leathery, but
um,
the safe ones are the fibrous ones, so you can.
Okay.
get an idea
You
what-
can kind of check them out a
so a
little
group of
bit.
people come
Also, they're
in,
edible.
whatever,
Oh,
and
Why not?
if
Why not?
they're
Sure,
still
why not?
considered
It makes sense. I
heavy
love it.
and
I love it.
dark months,
Okay.
they get swapped out.
As
Or
we've
new
talked
food
about these
that
interplay
ever
sections, the
survived
reason that
this
I
season.
always save the people for last is because
So when it comes
while
to
your
take
fauna
your-
can sometimes be playable, when we move into people, these really are the most likely playable characters in your adventure. Yes, when you're creating an adventure, somebody might bring a character in, but then maybe they're going to ally with one of these people groups, or they're going to, let's say it's they've changed into, so they're going to embody one of these peoples from these different people groups. They're going to, maybe they're going to be led by, those are your NPCs. So these people groups are definitely either going to be your players, or they're going to be sentient NPCs that your players are interacting with. This is like your fauna. Yes, technically you can have some playable fauna, but really I want your people groups. This is either going to be your people are going to be with them, your people are going to embody them, or they are going to be interacting with your people. That's who your people groups are. So we're going to be thinking about 3 different people groups that might exist. So we're going to go back to our power of 3. So with our 3 people groups, I want you to consider this world that you've made. So like, are there different peoples that are always in the research facility versus spelunking into the vents versus, like, think about, are there different classes of people? Are there people who were indigenous to your world versus who came to the world? So come up with 3 different people groups, and our people groups we're going to be breaking down, of course, into our power of 3. So this one I kind of leave last because you gotta know about your world and know about your interplay before you get to your people. What I want you to think about as you come up with
3 people groups. For each of them, you're gonna break it up into 3 things. I wanna know about their appearance, their attributes, and those attributes can be something they physically have, it could be knowledge, it could be their skills, it can be all of that positive stuff. And their weaknesses. Their weaknesses can be physical, can be mental, can be in terms of their technology, can be in terms of their class. Maybe they're looked down upon, maybe they're very elite, but they have to rely on everybody else, so they don't do the hard work, right? Think about your attributes, your weaknesses, and your appearances for 3 unique people groups that make sense within your world. So this is a big one because we are doing 3 groups and we're breaking each one down by 3. So for that reason, you guys have, I'm gonna give you a good solid 5 minutes on this one. So go.
I want to go off your idea.
So we have the Alzheimer's week.
Right.
Right.
So
I was
that's
thinking-
a given right then. and
Sure.
there.
I was thinking of
Well-
calling them the regressed.
I was calling them retired investigators.
Well, I liked your idea about swapping people out.
Yeah, like
And-
new
and
people come
having
in
maybe-
and because also you're in the dark for that how many
Yeah.
months.
But they chose
You're
not
not
to,
gonna
now
be
they're
there
trapped because
to
they
keep-
didn't-
you're
they
not
have
gonna be
one choice.
all
So
of
they-
that
but
there
they-
to continue.
but
So
they have
higher
redeemed
power
themselves and
is
maybe
like we
instead of
need to bring
things
more
being
fresh
harmed
meat.
out
So you're
as
researchers.
players
Yeah.
To rotate. So what about, how about having
that can
natives we
offer
didn't know about?
guidance.
There's a group of researchers that have disappeared. Not all the research groups have gone back whole, but some have disappeared. So those people somehow
disappeared
integrated
and
with
have not
the
been
native,
affected,
but they're not
basically.
dead, maybe necessarily. Some of them are with the natives, the
Yeah,
game's
just
kind
a
of
full
native.
native.
And then you got the current researchers. There's the 3 main groups. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but it's just something I was thinking about.
So obviously there's the same normal working researchers. There's
Yeah.
the regressed,
So maybe it's
So-
retired.
different aspects of.
And then the rebels that have kind of.
They're natives. How dare you?
Natives, okay.
Well, that could almost be classes, right, when we were talking about the ones that are
Yeah.
nuts because they were affected by the spores, and then you got the ones that didn't go nuts.
And it's the 1890s, so like, Europeans fully would be like, natives carry your bags.
Yeah, they've gone native,
Right.
and it's just like an older research student who's lost. The other thing I was thinking of is
So we got the regress, the natives,
Remember what
and
we about-
regular research,
regular researchers.
right?
So
The other thing I was thinking of, which would be just funny to me, is to let a player be a bumblebot.
Maybe with some Lego leaves and.
Okay.
Because I was also thinking they would be a native population because they're just always
It
here.
really just.
Oh, yeah.
depends.
Yeah.
Person kind of has their own.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the bots. And maybe we spend less time on the like native part, just because that's a new element now.
Yeah.
And then if we have time for that one.
This is where we're getting.
Well, we
I like
wouldn't
the
know
idea
about
of
that.
bots.
You know, your map.
Well, I just think that's where like the
Yeah.
researchers who don't go home end up like chilling with these other bots. We're like, we are tired of your dominion.
So is what you're getting at is like basically the bots adopt these
Native
scientists.
custom. Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking more about human natives that we don't know about. It won't interact with us
I
unless
think
you
it all
get
came
lost.
from one thing: is bots that disaffected humans, researchers who were disaffected and went away, and then there's an actual native.
Yeah,
bot
so
population.
they
Okay.
Though that because they need to be
You know,
together for strength, right?
Yeah, survival.
Okay.
So should we
So the
start
more
with
they are in
regress
tune with
and what they're
the more
like,
they
whether
know
there are
about
4
stuff,
things or?
the more
Yeah.
closer they
So
are to
appearance-wise,
the
they're the same, so they could run the gamut. No.
Hospital gowns?
Yeah.
I just keep,
Yeah.
yeah, I keep picturing them
Like in like jumpsuits,
Second one's
basically, not like hospital gowns, but like
Hospital jumpsuits.
Yeah. like onesies.
Yeah, because they're so traumatized, they're not taking it off anymore.
Yeah, like
Maybe they have like 2 rolling carts with them all the time, like people have oxygen things, but one's like, they're like peeing poop, and then the other one is
all
clean.
these different planets.
Huh, I like that, that's really interesting.
And so like,
also like some people could get in trouble if like they cut the lines on them or something. I
They're
don't know.
wandering around with their fluids.
Because that could be like an element or whatever, so.
Okay, we got about
But- so
another
that's
minute
their
here.
plans.
Okay, so attributes wise, they have locked knowledge. That's just hard to get because they have
There,
scenes.
that's it.
Cool.
They're terrible.
Weaknesses,
Terrible
okay, already
people.
okay, so
But
then
redeemable.
the researchers.
They're-
Redeemable, that is the, like, you have
For
been
weaknesses,
deemed
they're just
redeemable,
there.
therefore,
Right.
instead of
They're
that,
not
you have been
helpful.
said.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have.
They might be fed
Oh,
to the.
we have prisoner and we have.
Yeah.
Researchers, so, first they read the wiki.
Yep. So,
So.
attributes wise, I mean, they're PCs, so that's pretty good.
They're pretty
As the ascended,
put together people.
there's always the
Yeah.
risk that your
Weakest we
trust
read.
is the wrong.
Madness and like
Yeah.
seasonal
And, like, they'll
effectiveness.
Human, I guess just
Like the
being human
darkness.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, wrap up on the thought that you have right now. You will get an opportunity to double back on your people a little bit.
We're in the middle, yeah.
They look the same.
The natives will be the key to whatever mystery lies underneath.
Well, the big bad, right? That we have.
Yeah. Because they'll know.
What to do.
Can
Yeah.
I put cocky for weaknesses for regular?
I think so.
Yeah. I would call
For the
that a
regular
weakness, yeah.
PCs that they're cocky.
Yeah, because that's different than confident.
Oh,
That's
oh.
like overconfident, like you're gonna mess up.
Yeah, because you come in here, oh, we can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
know,
yeah.
we know what we're talking about. We're men and women of science.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys know that.
All right, so let's hear about, tell me about your people groups of the research colony, research base.
So we have the regressed, which is the
The childlike
childlike in the
Okay.
hospital.
attribute,
Area.
weakness, appearance.
They are in jumpsuits
Okay,
that we discussed that the jumpsuit is connected with tubes. So for their bio waste and to feed them.
oh wow, they have like fully regressed, like they
Yeah.
don't have like control of their own bodily functions.
Yeah.
Whew, okay, that's
Um,
that feeds right into their weakness, so.
yeah, which is madness, not there, cannot take care of themselves.
Okay, attribute,
Locked knowledge we've discussed.
okay,
So
because
like,
they've been there,
they've
they've done
seen
it,
it,
it's
yeah.
just, it's
It's-
blocked by the,
it's blocked by the spores, and they might have discovered something that the people who haven't or they didn't write it down yet.
Okay.
So it's just locked.
very cool, very cool. Give me another one of your people groups.
Regular researchers, which are players, right? We discussed they're kitted out in their diving gear, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And that I guess their weaknesses are being cocky and the potential hit to their sanity and just surviving in darkness, right?
Okay, and their attribute is just like their knowledge and their protection, like
Their
they have
competence.
technology and, yeah, and mhm.
Health.
their health,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yep, yeah, they're especially compared to those who've been exposed to the spores for longer. Do we have a third group?
We do, we're still kind of working out the details, but there's
Okay.
a native group.
A native to the thermal vented area. Okay, all right, I love it. So let's hear about your three groups in the swamp prison.
In Swamp Prison, we've got working title here. We've got the Ascended. They are a group of people who were originally prisoners, and they actually earned the redemption to leave this place, but have chosen to stay to act as guides for those who are trapped here. They look like they are becoming part of the swamp themselves. They are covered in swamp moss, but like swamp flowers and vines and things. They have knowledge and wisdom of the place. They are the folks that have perhaps mapped out this place. They're the only people who have that type of knowledge.
What is their weakness?
Their weakness is time, because eventually they will just become part of the swamp itself.
Oh, great. Awesome! Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Okay, what else do we have? Another people group?
So then the opposite of it is the damned, who got right to the end like the ascended, but didn't have the courage for the final move. So they basically sold out to Cthulhu, and they look like the ascended, but their job is to mislead people, to pretend to be ascended
Okay,
while misleading people.
okay. Is there a differentiation in their appearance that might be even a minor thing that would help them to stand apart from the ascended?
Yeah, almost certainly, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah,
All right. And do we have a third people group?
So our players themselves are prisoners from across vast worlds. These are our trash people who they are redeemable. They are deemed redeemable, and that is why they are being sent here. However, they are now being tested by our world.
Yes, I love that.
Jumpsuits and all.
Yes.
As we move into the next section, so first we're gonna take a little bio break, because we're gonna be moving into the adventure section. One thing, a challenge I'm gonna put to you guys is to rethink your Cthulhu-like theme.
Yeah,
I want you guys to really start, because we don't want him to be Cthulhu.
right.
Yes.
So let's start thinking about that. That's my challenge I'm gonna put to you guys. And for you guys, I want you to start thinking about who is that boss fight. If you have a boss fight, not every adventure has to. Like, you may have created a world that's more exploration, discovery, retrieval, something else that you have to do. But I want you to start thinking about who that might be, because theirs just kind of naturally unfolded in their world, yours didn't. But we are going to take a little bio break, because I'm going to stop and then restart that, and we're going to get into the adventure part of this now that we have our thing. But I'm going to do our recap in my little teacherly way. So we started at the top with our 10,000 foot view of what is our world. So like kind of like the basis of the world / genre of the world. Then we went from there and we broke our world up into our setting, our people, and our physics. We broke up our setting into our flora, our fauna, and our terrain, and then we created some interplay. We broke up our physics into our nature, our technology, and our magic, and we created some more interplay. And now we created our people, and we created 3 people groups with their attributes, their weaknesses, and their appearance. So you really have like done a ton, cracking that egg open in Power of 3 to build out this world. And in the second part, we're going to build out the adventure and a little bit of basic mechanics. But we'll take a bio break. We're lucky we do have a bathroom right in this room, so feel free to use that one. Otherwise, if you just need to walk around or stretch it out for a little bit, we're gonna do that. 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Dude, the nursery was just inspired.
So much fun.
It's so cruel and evil. I love it.